India hosted a three-day annual Raisina dialogue this week, where representatives from different countries discussed the issue of terrorism on the third day of the event. The panel condemned terror-sponsoring countries. As representative from India's side, General Bipin Rawat, Chief of Indian Defence Staff, asserted that it is the time to bring an end to terrorism, and a complete washout of terror entities is only possible if states that are going to sponsor terrorism stop using terrorists as proxy for warfare. Have a look. Pakistan's sponsored terrorism poses a major threat to world peace. Experts from across the world gathered at India's Raisina dialogue event to discuss security threats in South Asia due to state-sponsored terrorism. Gareth Bailey, Special Representative on Afghanistan, Pakistan and United Kingdom, acknowledged India's hefty loss because of number of terror attacks in the region, while also asserting that United Kingdom recognizes these losses and stands empathetically with India in fighting terrorism.
By the last count in 2018, some 340 Indians lost their lives to terrorists, and that is unconscionable. And the UK knows the suffering that a nation can bear when it loses its people to terrorist action. So I just want to record that and to record our sympathy and empathy with India today.
Bailey, while speaking on challenges to security in South Asia, emphasized on the fact that terrorist groups are functioning from Pakistan's territory and thus expressed concerns over regional stability of South Asia.
It is absolutely clear that terrorist groups are operating from within Pakistan. They pose a serious challenge to the government of Pakistan and to South Asia's regional stability.
He further said that there is a need to combat terrorism in all possible ways to fight proxy groups, terrorism and extremism.
If you're the UK, as you engage hard. You engage at every level, from the bottom to the very top. You engage regularly, and you set out in terms the importance of action against proxy groups and against terrorism and against extremism.
Chief of Defence Staff of India, General Bipin Rawat, also attended the event, where he pitched for strong global action against state-sponsoring terrorism, saying there is a need to address terrorism from its roots.
So this war is not ending. The war on terror is something which is going to continue. We'll have to live with it until we understand and get to the roots of terrorism.
While calling out for a diplomatic isolation of those sponsoring terrorism, General Rawat said that the world has to accept that there is a state that sponsored terrorism. Providing shield to sponsor of terrorists by denying their role in terrorism cannot continue forever, he added.
Denial of terrorism, to say that they are not denying it, they are themselves victims of terrorism, cannot continue for on, and I think we have to get the bull by these horns and take them to task.
He said the countries which are sponsoring terrorism could not be part of global fight against terror networks.
We have to bring an end to terrorism, and that can only happen the way the Americans started after 9/11. They said, let's go on a spree on global war on terror and let the nations join together and fight terrorism together. Well, to do that, what do you have to do? You have to isolate the terrorists. Anybody who's sponsoring terrorism has to be taken to task. You cannot have partners who are partnering with you in the global war on terror and yet sponsoring proxies and terror.
Further launching a scathing attack on Pakistan, Indian Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat said that terrorism will not end till the time there are countries which provide funding to it.
Terrorism is here to stay. So long as there are going to be states that are going to be sponsoring terrorism, so long there are going to be states that are going to use terrorists as their proxies, make weapons available to them, make the funding for them, we cannot control terrorism.
The panel also addressed the violence in Afghanistan and called out Pakistan for sponsoring Taliban. Saad Mohsin, an expert on counter-terrorism, said that Pakistan is deliberately sponsoring terrorism and supporting Taliban that has resulted in more than 8,000 international casualties in Afghanistan. He further said that strong action will have to be taken against Pakistan's sponsored terrorism.
If they can target Qasem Soleimani, why can't they target a general that lives in Rawalpindi? The ISI has been, and again in this book, in this chapter, this senior U.S. official confirms that how active they were in terms of their support of the Taliban. Listen, you cannot have a peace deal until the sanctuaries exist in those countries. And what the weapons and training and everything else and the funding they receive from Pakistan, it's contributed to 8,000 deaths, international casualties in Afghanistan. It's not something that you can ignore.
Voicing their concerns with India, the international community has been repeatedly asking Pakistan to take action against state-sponsored terrorism. However, despite several warnings of getting blacklisted by FATF and diplomatic pressure from the international community, Pakistan continued to harbour terrorist outfits on its soil.